Hello guys, this is James, and today we're going to talk about how to polyfill array.prototype.filter. In the last video, we have discussed about this method and how to use it. Let's have a brief recap of it. If we define a array like this, and then we want to use it. And to use the filter, remember the return value should be a boolean. So we just define a simple boolean value, and then the next thing we should use the filter already. Filter, and we should pass the function as the parameters. So we just console log, see what will happen. There's something wrong because we have to pass a p. All right, this is the result. So depending on the return value, whether it's true or false, if we pass 1 to it, it's to return false. So the elements 1 will not reflect in the new array. And 2 and 3, it will return true, right? So it will be the elements of the new array. All right, that's how we use it. And the other factor, we know that there's another parameter we can really pass to the filter, that is this, right? We also talked about it last time. And this will really designate when we call the function, the in the function, which it will really reference to. So if we really, for instance, last time we define another function, and then we just put the function 2 here, and then we can try to console log this inside this function, and then we can print out it will really refers to this fun to action. So that's how we really can alter the value of this by using another parameter here. Okay, so that's in general, that's how we really use the prototype.filter, this method. Let's really polyfill it. So we will not use this one. Okay. So this is a method, so it's a function, and it has 2 parameters, as I said. The first one should be the callback function. Second should be the names. We use something like this. Okay, we should now define what's in these functions. There's some facts lying down here we have to really notice. Fact 1, the element of the array should be the parameter of this callback function. And the second fact is that we have to really to create a new array that just capture return true, return value, the callback function. So that's something we have to really output. And then this logic, how can we really do it? Well, we can just simply define a for i equals to 0 and the length of the array, then I plus plus, and then we should really call the function, right? Should call the function because we have passed the CB here, so we just call this function, and we should pass 1 parameters here. And there's something we have to know that there's 2 optional parameters we can really pass. The first one is the elements. The second one is the index. The third one is the array itself. So the first one, the elements, how we can do it, array. And the second one is index. The third one is array itself. Am I right? Okay, so we call this function, and then if it will return something here, equals to this one, and if it is the true value, and then we just push. We just maybe here, I think we have to already create a new array here. if the value of it is really the true value, and then we just not push rest because it's a boolean. We should push elements inside. So we're just return this new. Then I think everything will be okay. But there's something we have to rediscover. There's no such thing as ARR here. What we want to do is that when we just use ARR dot filter, we can really reference to the ARR here. Means any arrays we want to use the filter method, we will just really refers to itself, the array. So we cannot really define anything like array here, but rather we should use what? We should use this. So we change the array to this. Let me explain why. Anytime we use the real instance array.filters in the runtime of JavaScript, there's a rule is that if an object dot a method, then the this will just refers to here this one. So if we use this here perfectly, it will really refers to the array itself. So we can really also use array names here. That's some tricky part. Also, here we cannot use AR to use this. So I just explained it again. So we want really reference to the array itself. So we can really do something about its elements, its length, right? Here and here. But how can we reference to it? In the runtime in JavaScript, there's a rule that when we use something like this, something dot something, and then under the this function, in the function, if it's not a nested function, okay, if just directly under this function, the list will directly reference to itself. So if we use here, definitely the list will reference to the array instance. Okay, so the second thing we have to take account is the list argument. We have to really think of how to use this one. So there's two situations actually. If equals to if this one equals to none means we haven't passed any parameters inside. So this one will be all right because we will not change it. We just directly we'll just call this callback function. If it really is not none means we have passed, then it's parameters. Just shift, we just hard bind the niche to something here directly, and really push. That's the second point about we have to really include these arguments here to say that whether it's a none, so it should be directly called the function. If it's not none, then we should really hard bind the niche to when we really call the callback functions here, okay? Maybe at first we don't really call it something like this. We just call it prototype. Just add anything random to the prototype arrays. And then here we just use array p. Let's see what happens. We should define it as empty. Actually, there was an error. I just corrected it. So of course, when we use the I iterations, I should be smaller than the length of it. So it will really go through the first elements to the last one. It will not exceed. If I didn't earlier, I just write something like this. It will have a forever iterations. That's the error of it. Okay, and then I think that's the thing we have created, and then we can really try to use array.p to see if it works well. Actually, it works very well. And then let's try the second thing. If we can create another function like we before function 2, we just create an empty function here, and we just try to test if this it will be bind to that one. So console log first one, and then here what we have to add is another parameter. Just make it function 2 to see that. Then later we'll console log out to see if it's really bind to function 2. Okay, let's test our. Actually, it's correct. Why? Because it runs 3 times, and the first time we just use the console log to type to really print out what it's really bind to. It's really bind to the function 2. Then we have to set some restrictions. The first thing I think is like we just put constrictions to the parameters we pass into. We cannot just pass a random one. So we should maybe the parameters passed inside should be the function. So it should be type of AB. If it's not a function, or here we cannot use type of because anything will return an object. So we should really use it has a method this array. Now then we just return a type errors. Let's just check it. For instance, if we define, we can mark something like this. Let's see what will happen. Okay, it really returns type parameter through new type parameter because we want to throw intentionally the new type value here, right? So we throw it. So all right, and also we can test that if the fu and the fine is not a function, it also will throw the type error. I think more or less that's how we polyfill the array.prototype.filters, the filter method. And of course, if it doesn't have, later we'll just modify the name to the filter, and then it will replace the orange filter, and then we can use the one we create. So I think that's for today, and thank you for watching.